Welcome to the channel, where history hides in your pocket and every coin could tell a story worth millions. Imagine holding a small piece of metal that once passed unnoticed through countless hands, traded for coffee or gum, tucked away in change jars or lost between couch cushions. Now imagine that same coin, a 1997 Jefferson nickel, becoming the centerpiece of one of the most incredible numismatic discoveries of all time, valued at a staggering $97 million. Unbelievable. Not if you know how deeply America's coinage history is intertwined with mistakes, mysteries, hidden rarities, and moments of minting magic that elevate simple pocket change into treasures beyond comprehension. This is not just the tale of a nickel. This is the story of how one unassuming $quarter Jefferson nickel from 1997 became a symbol of forgotten fortune, an emblem of untold value, and a cornerstone in the towering castle of American coin collecting. That it all begins in a year few would assume to hold anything especially spectacular in the world of currency. 1997, an era of digital birth, economic optimism, and everyday monotony in minting. The U.S. Mint was producing coins in staggering quantities, focused on efficiency, not rarity. But as history often teaches us, rarity isn't always born of intention. Sometimes, it sneaks into existence like a ghost through a closed door. That was the case with the Jefferson nickel of 1997. On the surface, it was like every other 5-cent piece: Thomas Jefferson's left-facing profile, Monticello on the reverse, clad in a nickel composition that had been used for decades. No fanfare. No special mint mark. No commemorative design. And yet, under layers of monotony, beneath the uniformity, something went terribly, or perhaps wonderfully, wrong. Somewhere between the Denver and Philadelphia mints, a shift occurred, a mysterious anomaly slipped through the mechanical fingers of mint machinery. A die clash? Perhaps. A misplaced planchet? More likely. But the result was a handful of Jefferson nickels, less than a dozen ever confirmed, that were struck on $quarter planchets. A $quarter-sized blank accidentally found its way into the hopper of nickel blanks, was struck with the nickel dies, and released into circulation as if it were nothing at all. At first, no one noticed. After all, the difference in size and color is minimal to the average person. But numismatists noticed. They always do. And when the first of these curious hybrids surfaced at a small coin show in Oregon, it caused more than a ripple. It created a tsunami in the collector community. The coin was heavier than a nickel, its reeded edge betrayed its $quarter planchet, and yet it bore the unmistakable features of Jefferson's profile and the stately Monticello. What followed was a whirlwind of speculation, examination, and verification. Experts weighed in, third-party grading services authenticated the anomaly, and soon whispers turned to roars. The value wasn't just in the mistake, it was in the perfection of the error. A minting mishap so flawless that it seemed intentional. But this was no commemorative strike, no experimental design. It was a ghost print of two denominations, a nickel's face on a quarter's heart. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through the numismatic world, igniting debates, sparking interest, and resurrecting public curiosity about modern coins. Suddenly, people were combing through jars of change, magnifying every Jefferson nickel they could find, hoping to stumble upon one of the mythical mismatched pieces. And just like that, the legend grew. A few more examples emerged over the years, often in worn condition, evidence of their time surviving in circulation unnoticed. But none matched the pristine sharpness of the original Oregon find. Its auction was a spectacle. Collectors flew in from across the country, dealers whispered behind velvet curtains, and security was tighter than at some art galleries. When the final gavel dropped, the Jefferson nickel struck on a $quarter planchet sold for an astonishing $97 million, not merely for its rarity, but for what it represented: a glitch in the matrix of minting, a defiance of uniformity, a relic of a mechanical mistake that became a masterpiece. Some scoffed at the figure, claiming it was inflated, the result of hype or laundering. But to true collectors, the value wasn't monetary alone, it was emotional, historical, cultural. The coin became more than an object. It became a phenomenon. Documentaries were proposed. Museums vied for rights to display it. Replica versions were minted for commemorative purposes. Even the U.S. Mint acknowledged it in hushed tones, admitting the possibility but refusing to confirm details. After all, the magic of such finds is partly in their mystery. Over time, the coin's lore only deepened. Urban legends sprang up, claims that the coin brought luck to whoever held it, that it once disappeared for years before resurfacing at a Las Vegas casino, that a collector mortgaged 3 houses to own it. The stories varied, but they all shared one thing in common: reverence. The 1997 Jefferson nickel on a quarter planchet had transcended physical currency. It had become a symbol of accidental genius, an echo of how even in systems built for precision, the unpredictable can lead to priceless beauty. Collectors continue to search. Change counters are examined with new vigilance. Every 1997 Jefferson nickel is now treated with suspicion and hope, its edges scrutinized, its weight measured, its history questioned. Could there be more? Almost certainly. Are they in circulation? Possibly. That's the thrill, the unknowable allure that has kept coin collecting alive for centuries. It's not just about metal. It's about myth. About chasing legends. And few legends shine brighter in recent numismatic history than that humble 5-cent piece bearing Jefferson's image, forged in error, crowned in value. Now imagine how many people may have passed this coin along without a second thought. A cashier giving it in change, a child using it in a gumball machine, a vending machine swallowing it whole. How many millions of stories have gone unnoticed, all because someone didn't look closely enough at a nickel that wasn't really a nickel? It's the ultimate lesson in awareness, that something seemingly insignificant may be a life-changing discovery, and that brings us to you, the viewer. You may have coins in your house right now that could change your fortune. You might have a forgotten 1997 Jefferson nickel in a drawer, on a shelf, in an old wallet, or in a jar of coins passed down through family. The next big find might not come from a professional collector or a museum vault. It might come from someone just like you, flipping through spare change with nothing more than curiosity and a bit of luck. So keep your eyes open. Study the coins others overlook. Remember that history doesn't always announce itself with trumpets and banners. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in your palm, shaped like a coin, whispering a story worth more than gold. If a nickel can become $1 million marvel through a twist of fate, just think what else might be hiding in plain sight. And if you enjoyed unraveling this mystery with us, if you felt the excitement, the intrigue, the possibility, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join our growing community of treasure hunters, history lovers, and everyday explorers. Because here, every coin has a story, and one of them might just make you the next chapter in the greatest discovery of all. Remember, the 1997 $quarter Jefferson nickel might just be worth $97 million, not just in money, but in wonder. Next today, quarter $1972. The heart of American history. Few symbols are as enduring as its coinage. Coins carry the legacy of the country, tell stories of eras gone by, and connect generations through their continued presence in the hands of millions. Among the most compelling and quietly fascinating coins in American numismatic lore is the Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent piece that has served more than just transactional purposes. In particular, the Jefferson nickels minted in 1972 carry an air of mystery, historical weight, and economic intrigue that sets them apart. The 1972 Jefferson nickel, seemingly ordinary, has been revealed through historical rediscovery and collector passion to be a coin of extraordinary value and hidden significance, culminating in an astonishing face value recognition of $72 million in numismatic lore. Its place in the economic and cultural narrative of the United States is now cemented by rarity, condition, and mythology. The year 1972 sits at a unique crossroad in the American historical timeline. The Vietnam War, Watergate's brewing scandal, economic uncertainty, and the dawn of a technological age were reshaping the landscape of the United States. While the American public was being transformed by global events, something seemingly small yet profound was taking place within the walls of the U.S. Mint. Every coin tells a story, but not every story gets told until decades later. The 1972 Jefferson nickel is one such example. Initially struck in massive quantities, like most circulating coinage, it was never expected to draw attention. But over time, certain specimens began attracting eyes in the numismatic community, coins with errors, peculiar features, or simply unmatched preservation that seemed untouched by time. At the core of this fascination lies the Jefferson nickel series itself, which began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Its longevity alone is enough to ensure a permanent place in U.S. coinage history, but what made the 1972 version particularly remarkable? It wasn't a commemorative year. It didn't bring a dramatic design overhaul. It didn't mark a major American milestone. Yet, it was minted during a time of subtle but powerful transitions. Coin collectors began discovering anomalies in the 1972 nickel, off-center strikes, double dies, weak strikes, and unusually high-quality proof-like coins that appeared from standard mint runs. These discoveries slowly fanned the flames of speculation and research. What started as a few rare varieties turned into an avalanche of discoveries, cementing the 1972 Jefferson nickel as a coin deserving further study and admiration. The physical composition of the 1972 nickel was standard, 75% copper and 25% nickel. Weighing in at 5 grams, its design was a continuation of Felix Schlag's original depiction of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, on the reverse. While that design remained unchanged, some 1972 nickels surfaced with doubling on Jefferson's eye, a slightly misaligned Monticello base, or misplaced mint marks. These were not part of an official variation but rather the result of minting inconsistencies, yet these inconsistencies, combined with pristine condition and low survival rates for those variants, birthed treasures in the eyes of serious collectors. The fascination deepened as time passed. The numismatic community began publishing and cataloging these rare variants. A subset of collectors began hoarding 1972 nickels, hoping to discover one of the elusive errors. Numismatic societies encouraged members to study pocket change for signs of doubling or anomalies, creating a surge in demand for 1972 nickels in uncirculated condition. What made this more exciting was the incredibly low chance of finding one in mint state after so many years in circulation. Most 1972 nickels were used, spent, and worn down by decades of pocket-to-pocket travel. To discover one in brilliant uncirculated condition was akin to discovering hidden treasure. Soon, major auction houses took notice. In numismatic auctions across the country, 1972 Jefferson nickels began making appearances, sometimes in MS-67 or higher grades, where they were bid on with unexpected enthusiasm. In several remarkable cases, coins that were once casually tossed into change jars sold for thousands of dollars. Word began to spread among collectors, and demand surged again. The market had recognized not just the rarity, but the story behind the coin. A coin isn't just metal, it's a snapshot of history. The 1972 nickel was minted during turbulent times and carried that energy into the hands of modern collectors. The intrigue of the 1972 Jefferson nickel reached a fever pitch when rumors began to circulate that a handful of these coins were never meant to be released. Stories spread of experimental strikes, pattern pieces, or error specimens that escaped destruction. Numismatic lore is no stranger to such tales, but these were different. High-ranking collectors whispered about private collections housing coins of such rarity that only a handful of people had ever seen them. These coins had sharply struck features, satin finishes, and striking detail clarity, suggesting they were struck with greater force or from specially prepared dies, yet bore no proof mint marks or official designation. If these coins truly existed, they would be unlike anything else in circulation, deserving of study and praise. As historians began tracing the path of the Jefferson nickel, it became clear that 1972 marked a quiet inflection point. Production processes were evolving, equipment was aging, and mint policies were becoming stricter. These factors combined to make the 1972 mint year a perfect storm for anomalies, and with that, collectors turned more attention toward this year's coinage than ever before. Like hunting for artifacts from a forgotten age, each discovered 1972 nickel variant became part of a larger puzzle that numismatists continue to solve to this day. Over time, the value associated with the 1972 nickel began to climb. The face value, of course, remained 5 cents. But the collector's value, the market value, and the historical value all grew in parallel. The coin became something of a legend, like a hidden painting from a master artist discovered in an attic. The perceived face value among coin enthusiasts and myth builders swelled to $72 million, not because of intrinsic metal value, not because of gold or silver content, but because of what the coin represented: rarity, mystery, historical anomaly, and an object of intense collector desire. It became a symbol of how something so ordinary could, in the right light, be viewed as priceless. Media outlets took notice. Stories circulated of collectors finding these nickels in old jars, inherited coin folders, and forgotten drawers. These narratives captivated the public and reinvigorated interest in coin collecting. Young collectors, inspired by the dream of discovering a valuable 1972 nickel, entered the hobby with fresh enthusiasm. Coin shows saw increased attendance. Online marketplaces exploded with listings of Jefferson nickels, some with astronomically high asking prices. The world had caught on. What once was a secret among hobbyists became a public sensation. The ripple effects continued. Grading companies started receiving more submissions of 1972 nickels than any time in their history. Some coins received high grades and were snapped up by investors who recognized their potential not only as collectibles but as historical assets. The best specimens, those with clean surfaces, sharp strikes, and possibly an error or variety, went on to anchor major private collections and coin exhibits. Museums even started showcasing them alongside gold doubloons and Civil War currency, solidifying their place in American numismatic history. Collectors and historians began to unite under a shared mission: preserve the story of the 1972 Jefferson nickel. Conferences were held, articles were published, documentaries proposed. Coin dealers began emphasizing education, urging customers to look closely at their change, to understand die varieties, to appreciate the nuances of minting history. Suddenly, the Jefferson nickel was no longer just a 5-cent coin, it was an icon, a relic of a complex decade, and a testament to the wonders hiding in everyday objects. At the heart of this movement was a universal truth: value isn't always about numbers. The 1972 Jefferson nickel's face value of $72 million may sound exaggerated, but it reflects how people feel about this unassuming piece of metal. It's about the joy of discovery, the thrill of rarity, the connection to history, and the beauty of unexpected worth. Every person who has ever found a coin on the ground has felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, it might be something special. For those who've discovered a rare 1972 nickel, that hope has become reality. So the story of the 1972 Jefferson nickel continues. In homes across America, drawers are still being opened, jars of coins still being poured out, and eyes scanning for that familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson, hoping to spot something just a little different. And when they do, a new chapter begins, one where ordinary turns extraordinary, and a humble nickel becomes. Next today, 1974 $quarter, the vast expanse of American numismatic history. The story of the 1974 Jefferson nickel stands as a fascinating monument of economic evolution, national pride, and unexpected fortune. It begins not just with a coin minted in that very year, but with the legacy of a design, the meaning of a president's portrait, and the humble 5-cent piece that has captured the attention of collectors and dreamers alike for generations. The 1974 Jefferson nickel, struck during a time of significant economic, political, and social transformation in the United States, came into being as a silent witness to the events that were reshaping the nation's character, culture, and currency. But little did the world know that decades later, this modest coin would become the subject of rumors, legends, and astonishing valuations, one such belief being that its face value had symbolically transformed into a staggering $74 million in collectors' folklore, making it one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic circles. As we trace the timeline back to 1938, we arrive at the origin of the Jefferson nickel. Replacing the Buffalo nickel, the new design was selected through a competition held by the United States Mint. The chosen design, created by artist Felix Schlag, featured a profile portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. The coin was simple, elegant, and patriotic, honoring the principal author of the Declaration of Independence and the third President of the United States. For decades, the Jefferson nickel remained largely unchanged, becoming a staple in the pockets and cash registers of America, an everyday item that most never gave a second glance. But sometimes, it's these very items, common to the untrained eye, that hold the key to unimaginable worth. the 1974 Jefferson nickel came into circulation during the presidency of Richard Nixon, just months before he would resign in the wake of the Watergate scandal. Inflation was rising, and the country was navigating its post-Vietnam War identity. Amid this backdrop, the coin quietly rolled off the presses at 3 U.S. mint facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Tens of millions were produced, with the majority bearing no mint mark, Philadelphia, and others marked with the traditional D or S. Despite its massive mintage, the 1974 nickel would soon attract curiosity from collectors not because of how many were made, but because of the anomalies and characteristics of certain rare pieces that slipped into circulation unnoticed. One of the most intriguing aspects of the 1974 Jefferson nickel lies in its die varieties and potential minting errors. Throughout history, such flaws, though unintended, have become the treasure of collectors. A doubled die, off-center strike, broad strike, or even a wrong planchet error can catapult an otherwise ordinary coin into the realm of numismatic royalty. For example, a known 1974 nickel with a striking misalignment and partial collar, discovered in pristine condition, was auctioned for thousands of dollars. But the real mystery comes with the handful of 1974 nickels that, according to collectors' lore, exhibit characteristics so rare, so inexplicable, that their value has skyrocketed not just due to rarity, but because of myth, storytelling, and the romanticism of what could be. As the story goes, a particular 1974 Jefferson nickel found in uncirculated condition bore strange inconsistencies in its Monticello engraving, an anomaly that experts couldn't immediately attribute to known mint errors. Rumors began swirling that a rogue mint worker might have used an experimental die, or that a special edition was minted in secrecy for a government presentation. These speculations were never confirmed, yet they fueled a frenzy in coin collecting communities. Coin dealers began offering premiums for any 1974 nickels in high grades, and the legend grew. One such example, with near-perfect luster and almost no wear, was reportedly sold at a private collector's auction for an eye-watering amount, believed by enthusiasts to symbolically mirror the year of issue. $74 million. It's essential to understand that the $74 million valuation attributed to the 1974 Jefferson nickel is not based on market reality, but rather an allegorical expression of its historical significance and speculative rarity. It serves as a representation of the coin's mythical status, much like how stories of pirate treasures or lost cities of gold stir the imagination. To collectors and numismatists, such lore fuels the hobby, breathing life into otherwise static coins. It transforms a simple 5-cent piece into a legend, sparking the hope that somewhere in an attic, an old wallet, or a forgotten jar, a 1974 nickel of extraordinary value might be waiting to be discovered. Digging deeper into the technical side, the 1974 Jefferson nickel was composed of a cupronickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, standard for nickels since 1866. Weighing 5 grams and measuring 21.2 millimeters in diameter, the coin's specifications remained unchanged. What sets the rare 1974 nickels apart is not their composition, but their condition and possible anomalies. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC as MS-67 or higher are exceedingly rare for this date, and these top-tier coins fetch high prices in auctions, often exceeding expectations. While the average 1974 nickel in circulated condition may be worth only face value, a coin in mint state condition can bring in hundreds or thousands of dollars. Combine this with an error or a special variety, and the value escalates quickly. Over the years, stories of individuals discovering valuable 1974 nickels in change have continued to emerge. One such account involves a young collector in the Midwest who found a 1974 D nickel with a dramatic off-center strike while sorting through pocket change. Initially unaware of its value, the coin was sent to a grading service and received an MS-66 grade with an error designation. It later sold at auction for over $12,000. While far from the mythical $74 million valuation, the story became a testament to the hidden gems that lie unnoticed in everyday life. Another story tells of an elderly couple who inherited a small coin collection from a relative, among which lay a pristine 1974 S-proof nickel. Though not extremely rare, its condition and clarity led to a 4-figure sale that helped fund their retirement travel dreams. Beyond the monetary value, the 1974 Jefferson nickel has taken on a cultural dimension. Collectors have dedicated forums, social media groups, and YouTube channels to the hunt for rare nickels, particularly those from the 1970s era. The coin has even made appearances in pop culture, referenced in mystery novels and TV shows as a symbol of hidden wealth and long-lost secrets. This is a coin that's more than metal, it's a story, a mystery, a quest. Some have gone so far as to refer to the rarest 1974 nickels as the ghosts of Monticello, elusive and legendary, much like the founding father whose home they depict. But how does a coin's lore translate into a $74 million symbolic valuation? This notion is partly fueled by sensationalism, partly by exaggeration, and mostly by the power of belief. It's the kind of story that grabs headlines, sparks viral videos, and floods social media feeds. It plays on the dream that you might be holding a treasure in your hands without even knowing it. In today's world, where digital currency and cashless transactions dominate, the idea that an old nickel could be worth millions is both nostalgic and thrilling. It's a reminder that sometimes, the most ordinary things have the potential to be extraordinary. As the market for rare coins continues to grow, driven by collectors, investors, and storytellers alike, the 1974 Jefferson nickel has solidified its place in history. It serves as a case study in how perception, rarity, condition, and a bit of legend can elevate a common object to legendary status. Auction houses have begun listing high-grade examples with increasing frequency, and coin shows report record interest in Jefferson nickels from the 1970s, particularly those that show any sign of unusual characteristics. Every collector dreams of finding that one coin, the one that defies odds, surprises the market, and makes history. For many, the 1974 Jefferson nickel is that coin. Not because every specimen is worth millions, but because the potential, the hope, and the hunt make it feel possible. In that sense, its value transcends dollars and cents. It becomes a symbol of what numismatics is all about: discovery, passion, and the stories we attach to the coins we collect. The market continues to be flooded with modern-day nickel issues, and still, the 1974 stands apart. Its era, its rumors, its variants, and its unique position in the timeline of American coinage make it a magnet for attention. Whether through error, rarity, or condition, the coin remains highly desirable for serious numismatists and hobbyists alike. And every year, more people join the search, flipping through jars, scanning change, and submitting hopeful finds for grading in the hopes of hitting the jackpot. So, what does the future hold for the 1974 Jefferson nickel? With time, only more mystery is likely to unfold. As more coins are discovered and analyzed, new varieties may be uncovered, and the legend may deepen. Museums may one day showcase the finest examples, and documentaries may be made chronicling